Bradley.
Oh, God. I'm saying that. I can't give everybody that.
Oh, God.
I'm gonna sign everybody.
Jeez.
It is 4 o'clock on October 20th, 2025, and I officially open this meeting of the Conway City Council. I welcome all of you. Thank you for being here. And we will move forward with the agenda as it is set forth. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? I'm sorry? We'll begin with an invocation and a pledge of allegiance to be led by Council Member Amanda Butler.
Let us pray. God, we thank you for this time. We thank you for this opportunity to gather here together for the business of Conway. God, we thank you for the people who are here and the representatives as well as the city staff who have worked diligently to provide Conway as a great place to live, grow, and to raise a family. God, we ask that as we consume this meeting and that we talk about the business of Conway, that you lead and direct us into all truth, oh God, that you lead us in our decision making so that we can make the best decision for your people. And we ask this in your son Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much, Ms. Butler. And now, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Ms. Butler.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. White.
I second.
I have a properly seconded motion to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, please indicate so as showing your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Item 4 on the agenda is first item A, a presentation of Employee of the Month for October 2025 from Public Service. Ms. Hutz?
Bradley Todd moved to Planning and Development from Finance earlier this year to fill essentially 2 positions in our department on an interim basis as the landscape plans designer and arborist, as well as the role of zoning and landscaping inspector. Since joining our team, Bradley has demonstrated outstanding dedication and passion in all that his job entails. He has consistently gone above and beyond to ensure that every task given to him is completed correctly and in a timely manner. Bradley's efforts in designing the landscape areas throughout the city, along with the hard work from beautification staff, has really shown through on the landscaping projects that have been completed so far this year. Although Bradley has only been in his current role for about 7 months and with little to no training, his work reflects the skill and competence of someone with years of experience. His respectful and understanding attitude towards city residents reflect his commitment to providing excellent public service. It's evident to all of us who work with Bradley that he cares about Conway and wants to make our city the best it can be. And for that, he is truly an asset to the city and the community and is very deserving of this recognition.
Go Bradley. Bradley, I knew you were good, but I didn't know you were that good. How wonderful. Item B is a presentation or a proclamation recognizing Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I'm going to ask my dear friend, son, Sarah Johnson, and the young woman who's accompanying her to meet you over this side, please. This proclamation comes from the Office of the Mayor, Conway, South Carolina, to create awareness, honor millions of affected lives, reaffirm a commitment to equitable access to care, and to improve chances for the survival of all who experience breast cancer. Whereas pink ribbons remind us of a disease that forever changes the lives of countless people experiencing varied stages of breast cancer and the 2 million plus individuals diagnosed annually. And whereas Breast Cancer Awareness Month is an international campaign held each October to support those diagnosed with breast cancer, to educate on risk factors, to encourage regular breast cancer screening, and to raise funding for breast cancer research. And whereas this campaign also promotes educating men on the growing incidence of male breast cancer, with 2,800 new diagnoses predicted for this year. And whereas today, women in the United States have a 12.5% chance of developing breast cancer, and 1 in 43 will likely die of the disease. Despite an overall downward trend of deaths from breast cancer due to improved detection and care, Black women are more likely to die from breast cancer due to limited access to health care. And whereas currently the United States holds more than 4 million survivors of breast cancer. Therefore, by the power vested in me as mayor of the city of Conway, Halloween, South Carolina, I proclaim that October's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I encourage all to be helpmates to known breast cancer patients, to perform self-examinations and secure annual mammograms, and to donate to breast cancer research to further lessen the devastation caused by this life-threatening disease. In witness whereof, I appear to set my hand and cause the seal of the city of Conway, South Carolina, to be affixed this 20th day of October 2025. It is also attested to by the city clerk, Lisa Shelley. May God bless you all. Thank you so much.
Here, may I add something to this?
Of course you can.
Oftentimes when we think of breast cancer, we only think about ladies, but men, I want to let you know also that you can get breast cancer, and I've had 2 mammograms myself, just for safety reasons or health reasons, so make sure you do that as well. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say one thing. I got diagnosed in January of this year, and thankfully early detection saved my life. And I just wanted, I started a 1-in-8 campaign. I'm actually advocating now for awareness for everything she said in this proclamation. But 1 in 8 women in the United States will be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime. So I'm challenging every woman, every man here to encourage at least 8 women in your life to get their mammogram, because it saved my life. I'm cancer free now. I will be taking meds for 5 years, but it makes a difference, okay? Thank you.
Item 5A is first reading of ordinance ZA 2025-1103B to rezone approximately 2 and 15/100 acres of property located at 1001 Grill Street from Horry County General Residential District to the City of Conway Professional District upon annexation into the City of Conway. Ms. Hugs.
Yes, ma'am. The ordinance to annex the subject property was given first reading at the September 15th council meeting. The applicant is seeking to zone the property professional upon annexation. It's currently zoned general residential under Horry County's jurisdiction. The city's future land use map identifies the property as low to medium density residential, or R1. However, properties on either side of this subject property as well as across the street are zoned professional. Krill Street contains a mixture of uses including residential, medical, childcare, and other office-related uses. Currently, the property contains one single-family dwelling, which is permitted in the professional district, and staff is not aware of any plans for the use of the property if the rezoning is granted. Planning Commission held a public hearing on the request at their October 2nd meeting and recommended approval of the professional district upon annexation, and staff also recommends approval.
Thank you so much, Ms. Hugs. Is there a motion, or are there questions? Mr. White?
I move that we approve this annexation, I move this ordinance, please.
Thank you. Yes, sir, Mr. Goldfinch.
I'll second Mr. White's motion, please.
We have a properly seconded motion to move forward with first reading of this ordinance. Ms. Hugs, I've got one quick question. You wrote in your issue paper that that typically professional is supposed to be a transition between like residential and upcoming retail and such. Do we anticipate any of that coming in that area?
It could. It very well could. Right now, there is a single-family dwelling on there, and there is some property on both sides of it that are zoned professional, one of which I think the same applicant owns as well. I know several years ago, he wanted to rezone some property so that a laundromat could be done there, but that the professional district does not allow for that. So yes, professional is a very more restrictive commercial district than, say, highway commercial or neighborhood commercial, and it's in keeping with the other commercial uses that are also on Creel Street.
Thank you so much. Any other questions or comments? We'll call a vote. All in favor of this first reading, please indicate so for the showing of your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Item B is first reading of ordinance ZA 2025-1103C to amend Article 2, definitions, Article 4, use tables, and Article 6, design standards of the City of Conway Unified Development Ordinance regarding the requirements in sub-districts of the Waccamaw Riverfront District. Ms. Hugs.
This proposed amendment is being presented for consideration in order to provide clarity and consistency within the Waccamaw Riverfront zoning district. It would eliminate the sub-districts of WRD, which is currently split between WRD1 and WRD2. WRD1 is going to be your very light blue that you see on one side of Highway 501 Business, and WRD2 is more of your light green or almost teal WRD2 on the other side. There's nothing in the UDO or the Unified Development Ordinance that defines the parameters of WRD1 versus WRD2, and there's no definition provided that distinguishes between the two. Per the definition of Waccamaw Riverfront District, the intent of the district is to provide for the physical, social, and economic development of the city's riverfront area. However, several of the properties that are zoned WRD do not have direct access to the riverfront. Article 6 provides a requirement for WRD1 district that all ground level floors of any building in WRD1 be devoted to permitted uses outlined in the use tables aside from residential, with residential uses permitted on upper floors only. And recently, the city acquired 224 acres that was zoned WRD2 upon annexation because many of the areas included in those parcels do not have direct access to the riverfront, such as property across Marina Drive and property on the other side of Highway 501 on New Road. However, with the city's riverfront being expanded by acquiring this acreage, and in keeping with the intent of the Waccamaw Riverfront District, the mixed-use component is necessary on areas with direct access to a future riverwalk to maintain public access and stimulate pedestrian activity. And as such, this amendment eliminates the sub-districts and instead proposes to include a requirement that properties to be developed that adjoin the riverwalk will contain a mixture of uses with ground level floors devoted to one or more of the permitted commercial uses in the district and restricting any residential proposed to the upper level floors. The use tables in Article 4 have also been revised as part of the amendment to reflect the change, and there are other housekeeping changes that were included as part of the amendment. Planning Commission held the public hearing at their October 2nd meeting and recommended approval, and staff also recommends approval of the proposed amendment.
Thank you, Ms. Hugs. Is there a motion? Mr. Goldfinch.
Mayor, I move that we approve first reading of said ordinance.
Thank you. Is there a second? Ms. Butler.
I second the motion.
Or properly seconded motion to approve first reading of this ordinance. Are there questions or comments?
Question.
Yes, sir, Mr. White.
I'm sorry. Before anything can be done on this property, it would have to come back before us to approve or disapprove?
You mean the Santa Cooper property?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it'll come before you beforehand.
Very good.
Anyone else? That said, all in favor, please indicate such with a showing of your hand. That motion carries unanimously. Item C is first reading of ordinance ZA 2025-1103D to amend Article 2, definitions, and Article 13, administrative agencies and functions of the City of Conway Unified Development Ordinance to establish provisions for requiring a development agreement for developments that involve a zoning map amendment and/or annexation into the City of Conway. Ms. Hux.
So this was originally discussed at this year's budget retreat and again at a workshop a few meetings ago. One of the issues that staff researched over the past several months is whether the requirement for a development agreement existed in other localities and whether requiring a development agreement as a condition of annexation or rezoning was in accordance with state law. The South Carolina Local Government Development Agreement Act expressly authorizes cities and counties to enter into such agreements with property owners, but these agreements must be voluntary. However, they may accompany zoning approvals and annexations. By adopting a development agreement through the statutory and public notice process, the right to attach development agreements to an annexation and/or a rezoning is considered to be legally defensible. Staff emphasizes that such agreements must be voluntary between the city and the applicant and must be adopted in accordance with state law. Both parties must agree to the terms of the agreement. With the annexation of large tracts of land, such as Warden Station Plan Development or the Brookhaven Plan Development, Council asks that staff prepare options for requiring development agreements for certain types of development. There are two threshold requirements according to state law. One, the property must contain a minimum of 25 acres of uplands or highlands, such as acreage above the 100-year floodplain. And two, the length of the agreement varies with the size of the property. For instance, property up to 250 acres of upland is limited to an agreement term of 5 years. Property with 250 to 1,000 acres is limited to 10. Properties between 1,000 and 2,000 is limited to 20 years. The contents of a development agreement must include several items, such as the property description, owners, duration of the agreement, permitted uses, public facilities, dedication of land for public purpose, permits needed, and a schedule for completion of the development, among several other items. There are two places in South Carolina that staff found that typically require development agreements as part of the approval of a planned development district, and that was Hardyville and North Myrtle Beach. I have heard that North Myrtle Beach has started requiring them for all development, but I've not verified that. At the last council workshop, the issue was discussed, one of them being the threshold for requiring an agreement. The general consensus was any annexation and/or rezoning of property that would permit residential uses and propose to contain 150 lots or units. Additionally, the requirement only applied to properties seeking annexation into the city or proposed to be rezoned, not property already in the city and zoned for residential development, as those properties already have by right development. Planning Commission considered the amendment at their October 2nd meeting and held a public hearing. Staff presented two options. The one that included a threshold of 150 lots or units on a minimum of 25 acres of upland, or to leave the requirement up to council and instead, under the applicability section of the ordinance, state that council, as a condition of annexation or rezoning of a property, may require the property owner and/or developer to enter into a development agreement for any development, whether residential or non-residential, when it's determined that such an agreement is necessary to protect the public health, safety, and general welfare of the citizens of Conway. Planning Commission's preference was to lower the threshold to 50 lots or units and to remove the standard for the property to contain 25 acres or propose to include that minimum number of lots or units. It was a valid concern because what we don't want is to have someone who wishes to annex a large tract that doesn't propose a residential development, but maybe just wants to build one house for themselves. However, the issue with how it's worded now, it gives those who may seek annexation or rezoning of property a way to get around the requirement for a development agreement as illustrated in the slide. If they have 100 acres, they could divide the property in a way that keeps the number of lots or units under the threshold of 50, or if there's a way it could be subdivided to where each tract contains less than 25 acres of uplands, they could build a multifamily project containing more than 50 units, regardless of the overall acreage, as long as there's less than 25 acres of upland, because that's the state minimum standard for requiring a development agreement. In this example, the parent tract is split into 33.3 acres each one avoiding the minimum threshold, but once all three are developed, you end up with 248 lots or units. And this conundrum is probably why there is nothing too specific in any ordinance across the state, except for where it's specified that a planned development district may be accompanied by a development agreement. Staff wanted to present these two options for consideration for first reading as well, and included two separate ordinances, one that includes Planning Commission's recommendation, and one that provides the more general language, which gives council the discretion to require a development agreement for any project which meets the minimum standards for such an agreement. I also want to note the amendment is not time sensitive, so if there is a desire to defer, or if there's information that staff would like council to, or would like staff to look into further, that is something that could be considered. But if council wishes to advance, staff would recommend approval of first reading of the version that gives council the discretion to require or not require a development agreement, regardless of the number of lots or units proposed, whether it's residential or commercial in nature.
Thank you, Ms. Hooks, and I move that we do approve, is it first reading? That we approve that scenario that allows council the option to make that decision case by case. Is there a second? Let's go for it.
I'm gonna second it.
You have a question or concern?
Just comment, a bunch of comments. I think this is great. I've been wanting this for a long time. This is this should have been done 25 years ago. This should have been done in Overy County. This should have been done in the city. This is a good thing. So just to be clear, so I know what I'm seconding, it's not a minimum. Is it a minimum? And this is what I didn't understand. Is it a minimum of 25 acres and/or gives us discretion on top of that?
No, you have to have the 25 acres of upland regardless. So you have to have that first. So you can't require a development agreement if there's less than 25 acres of upland.
That's where I got hung up. Thank you. Okay. Here's my question. If I'm a developer and I'm coming in and there's 40 acres to be developed, and I decide that I'm going to split that into, two different developments, and I'm going to name one of them Jordan Estates #1, Hardwick Estates #2, then I've just sort of weaseled my way around that minimum threshold. What can we do to protect, because, that would seem like a loophole, a reasonable loophole, but that's not in the spirit of what we're trying to do, right? So how do we address that?
I don't really know if there's a simple answer on how to address that, because it's state law, and we can be more restrictive than state law. We can't be less restrictive than state law, so we would not be allowed to require a development agreement if they had 24 acres of even if it's a 100-acre tract, you still have to have that 25 acres of upland. But my fear is that if you attach a number of units to it, because there's nothing that says they have to give us a plan that shows how many lots they can do, then they can figure out a way to subdivide it, because if it's over 5 acres or more in size, each tract, it's not technically subject to the major residential subdivision for every 5 acres or more tract. So if they had 100 acres or whatever, they could split that into 3 evenly sized tracts and still avoid the threshold. So first and foremost, you have to have the acreage. And I can't see somebody wanting to come and do 150 lots on 25 acres. I'm sure it's possible, but you gotta have roads, you gotta have open space, there's so many things. So I think that the intent of the ordinance will be met along with council's discretion.
Is there,
I'm good for now.
so, is there a way for council to restrict, any move in that direction if the property has recently been subdivided? You know what I'm saying?
Because a lot of times they'll subdivide in Horry County's jurisdiction because that's not necessarily a trigger for annexation if they're not requesting city services. So that's already done before it comes into the city many times, or could be done.
Anybody else? Mr. Goldman?
Just one more question, Becky. Is there a way to sort of put out there that the city of Conway may be going in a certain direction? This direction may or may not involve something like this. We want to see developments coming in that have multiple uses, i.e. commercial applications, spaces for retail, spaces for grocery store. You know, we've talked about this ad nauseum. If for no other reason to alleviate traffic, congestion and keeping people in their areas of forcing them on the 501 or other thoroughfares.
Right.
Is there a way to put that out there where, and this came up with the Culture and Oak Street neighborhood most recently, and it was recommended, I think I was one of the people that recommended, hey, let's carve out some space here at the front of Culture Road to do, some kind of commercial use. It ultimately didn't make sense in that example, but going forward, when someone decides to sell their farm or their piece of property and they call a realtor, a commercial realtor or developer, and they say, well, this is what I'm thinking, the first thing that comes to mind out of the mouth of that realtor or that developer is, well, yeah, we can do this, but this is sort of how you're going to have to do it. And the conversation's going to include commercial, retail, and residential, as opposed to just getting the lots ready, selling it to D.R. Horton and walking away.
Right. And that's, where our future land use maps really help us. So when somebody comes to the city and they know they're going to have to annex, whether it's by choice or whether it's because they have to, we can look at that and help determine what we feel, based on the future land use maps, what is a need in that area. And it may be an opportunity for us to look at planned development districts where it makes sense when they are choosing to annex into the city. So in those cases, if it's more than 25 acres of upland and it's a significant size tract that shows multiple future land uses, then that might be an opportunity for us to do something like that. And then even on one that you guys discussed at workshop that included property on 701 South and Copperhead Road, while it's not a planned development that's proposed, they are planning to carve out frontage on 701 South to have that commercial. Because if the city's future land use map had extended that far, that is the designation that would have been assigned. So having that in place will certainly help.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I'm sorry? Ms. Harper?
In looking at this, I have 100% faith in the motives of the 6 people and myself that sit up here right now. When we look at this and we read, City Council determines that such an agreement is necessary to protect the public health. Is there, thinking down the road, is there and we are speaking, our intentions are to have, like Mr. Goldfish said, the commercial and the multiple land use. Is there a check and balance for future councils to carry that forward in this agreement?
Well, I think, again, the comprehensive plan is one of your
Checks.
best tools that you could use, because when planning commission, when council, when staff is looking at what's the best use of a property that's seeking annexation or rezoning, that's the tools that we have in our toolbox to say, this is what's best for that property, this is what staff is going to support. And you can always rely on the comprehensive plan to say this is what can be supported. And hopefully future staff will encourage that when annexations or rezoning is being considered for property.
Thank you.
Mr. White?
And because we are growing so fast, we need to make certain that whatever we do, we want to make certain that it's not going to affect the people that are already here. Whatever the growth is, we should be protecting our citizens that are here now in Conway as well.
Absolutely.
And I thank you for bringing this to our attention, and let's hold those developers right where they need to be held. Thank you.
Anyone else? I believe we have a properly seconded motion. I'll call a vote. All in favor, please indicate so with a showing of your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much. Next on the agenda is public input. This is an opportunity for people who've signed up to speak to this council on almost any subject. The exception would be that has to do with an individual employee. 3 minutes are allotted. I asked that the one person who signed up for today, that you speak directly into the mic, please, so that people in the rear of the chambers and online can actually hear you, and be reminded that public input is not interactional. We won't talk about it unless there's some information just to pass. I believe Jimmy Hammond, that you've signed up. If you come forward, please, and begin with your name and address.
My name is Jimmy Hammond, 1515 Churchill Drive, and for 137 days, I have learned how the city council works and et cetera, and it's a joy to see. And once again, I told this lady here before council started, my hat's off to her. That right there is a jewel right there in the city council. I'm sorry I talked about you, but I mean, maybe I didn't admit it today. But I'm talking on behalf of Randall, Eddie, Chapman, Jane, and myself. It's been 137 days. We haven't heard anything from y'all. We haven't. But one good thing about it is, council meeting, but before and after that, Goldfinch said that y'all want to have a workshop or executive session, and y'all had some. Still hadn't heard a word. It's exciting tonight that I see on the podium thing right here, because I looked at it on Wednesday and said y'all want to have another workshop and et cetera. These individuals I talked about, somebody went up to them and told them and says, hey, you get Medicare, it's free. It's not free. It's not free. And I hope y'all know it's not free. And these people cannot afford this type of insurance. They're not going to have insurance. They're going to go to Conway Hospital or Grand Strand. They're going to see they don't have Medicare. If they have an operation they need to do, they're going to send them to NUSC. They're going to go to the back of the line. They're going to go to a medical university where there's a person over here who don't speak no English, and there's a person over here to jump the border. They're going to operate on them. Okay? Don't do it. Please look into it, y'all, and help our city employees. I worked hard. I know I've been a pain in y'all's butt for the last 137 days. But I think it's necessary to come and bring it to your attention, The city back whenever they did this right here, they were scared they were going to go into a deficit. They didn't. 17 years later, you're not in a deficit. My goodness, you got $3,000 worth of stuff inside this building right here, right now. Help these employees, some way or another. They're your employees still. They still got City of Conway stamped on their arm somewhere or another. You know, they still got it. So, in the end of this here, trick or treat, I hope this is not a trick, and I hope we get a treat out of this when it's all over with. So thank you. Maybe you won't see me back no more. But please let us know, because we don't have but about 7 more days for them fellows to make a decision. Okay? They prayed about it. I prayed about it. I've had tears come to my eyes praying for myself and for them. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Hammond. Item 8 is, I'm so sorry. We do have others who have signed up for public input that I did not pick up from downstairs. I apologize. Kathy Russell, if you're still with us. Kathy Russell. Also Teresa Cepeda, if I mispronounced your name, please correct me. Teresa Sapeda or Sapedia. If neither of those is present, we will close public input at this time. Sorry? Do we? I don't think we do.
Do we need a
Do we need to close?
Because you don't need to close it.
Okay, I didn't think so. Thank you so much. Item 7 is the city administrator's report.
Good evening. The Mayor's Youth Council has had 2 meetings so far this school year. Skylar Platt was elected as the 3rd junior mayor. We look forward to having the entire Youth Council at one of our future council meetings. I want to give you an update on that. We do have visitor data for Halloween through Friday of last week. We are up 46.2% over the year over year. And that does include the rain out last Saturday and Sunday from 2 weekends ago. It does not include this past Saturday, which saw the most people in our downtown in, I would wager to guess, the history of Conway. We expect that data to show we had at least 40,000 people, maybe more. Because of that, obviously having that many people for the first time means we have some issues to work out before we do it again this upcoming weekend. We're working on those plans now. Chief Long, Bess Harry, and I rode around today with making some traffic updates and improvements that we'll see implemented this weekend. Hopefully to better manage the huge amount of traffic and parking woes. Both of those things should be taken care of, well, at least addressed by Thursday. In addition to the traffic issues, we have had numerous reports of restaurants running out of food, of 3+ hour wait times, of people leaving Halloween hungry. So we're adding a few more food trucks this weekend to help address the demand. We don't want anyone to leave Halloween for any reason. And we are also working on our Christmas planning and building. While we doubt we'll see the same numbers for Christmas, we hope we do, but we doubt we will. We do expect there to be an uptick this year. We've heard from a lot of the out-of-town visitors that are coming for Halloween that they're coming back to see how we do Christmas. So we're working on the bar raising again for that. This week, I don't want to spend too much time on Halloween, but this week we do have some great events coming up. We have Phantom of the Opera at the First United Methodist Church. Chamber of Commerce has their coffin races on Saturday. Scare on the Square Professional Wrestling is on Sunday. The UFO Festival is on Saturday. Monster Mash on Mill Pond is on Saturday. And there are countless numbers of trunk or treats and fall festivals coming up this weekend as well.
Please say what time the coffin race is.
It is 11 to 4. 11 to 4 on Laurel Street.
Don't be late for your.
That's gonna be, I know, that's gonna be a long race.
They're running in heats. It's not one group for 5 hours.
Somebody would move out.
At least they can lay down for part of it. The final Citizens Academy is this Wednesday. It is the last one. This one they're going to meet with Timmy and his folks, and they're going to learn about all the holiday decorations in addition to all the other things that hospitality and beautification do. And my guess is the number one question will be, where do we store everything? Because that's the number one question we always get. So that'll be the question that gets answered, I'm sure. A reminder that the City of Halloween game at Coastal is the 30th against Marshall, and we expect it to be a pretty special Halloween version of Coastal football in the City of Halloween. The next day on Halloween, in addition to being Halloween, there's a home football game at Conway High School, and we're going to bring Halloween to the high school as well. We've got pumpkins in the trees leading into the stadium already, and they're going to do a trunk or treat and some other things before the game. Coastal Homecoming Parade is Friday, November 7th at 4 p.m. downtown. That is a Friday afternoon at 4 p.m. That's different than usual, so make plans for that. We will have transportation for council to ride in that parade. It'll either be the historic fire truck, and if it's not running, it'll be something else that's spectacular as well. We have 3 things on the agenda tonight for executive session. We have no workshops tonight. I would recommend moving into the other room for executive session just because there's several items to go over. And before I sit down, and if there's any questions, I'll answer them, but we do have a department head report from Brandon Harrelson in Public Works.
Questions? Mr. Goldfinch.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Adam, for the reassurance of some effort towards traffic control. Saturday was just insane.
It was.
I got a lot of feedback at church yesterday, and not from the Halloween haters, just from people who said, we got to figure something out about traffic. And I said, I'm bringing it up Monday night, you beat me to it.
Yeah.
So thank you. And one other thing, and I guess this is more of a question or something to ponder. I know we're not ready for this now, but at some point in the future, we got to get a hold of control of traffic lights. And I know, like, we have none now, and so it's either you do it or you don't do it. You don't just take one or two.
Right.
We've got to have the people trained to do it, we've got to have the resources and funding to do it, but I would love to see the city get to a place where we control Main Street traffic lights, where we control Third Avenue lights, where we just have control over, and not for purposes of Halloween, but just general stuff. You know, I mean,
As you know, Third Avenue, Fourth Avenue, Fifth Avenue, and Main Street are all state roads.
Right.
That means the intersections are fully state roads. The only way really to be able to get the control of the lights would be to be able to get control of some of the side roads as well. Certainly we've been trying to get Third Avenue in the city system, take it out of the state and federal system. All those are numbered roads as well, numbered highways. So 378 is Third Avenue, 905 is Fourth Avenue, actually 701 is part of Fourth Avenue as well, I believe. And Main Street, of course, is 701 and 501. Until we're able to do something with that, those sites are always going to be in state control, I believe. Some of the things we've talked about today that are going to make you very happy, though, we're actually going to limit left turns off of Main Street Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So if you're coming into town, you can't turn left. If you're coming from Loris, you're coming from the beach, you got to go right or straight. And we're hoping that will help a lot of the congestion and backup, just people can't make the turn.
well, and there's no reason anyone coming off the bridge needs to turn left on the third. There's no reason for us to have an arrow.
Right.
People say, well, the lights are out of sync. The lights aren't out of sync. When you trip that arrow, but you don't trip that one, then you have congestion when people can go under the bridge and go where they want to. So I know it's a feat, it's a big task, it's a tall order, but let's make it a goal. I think at some point in the future.
It'll be a good test case if nothing else.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, sir.
Mr. White?
The crosswalks, we have this little stands like in the middle of the streets. Is there any way we can put a flashing light on top of those, like a yellow light, something like that, so that people can know there's a traffic crossing or pedestrian crossing there?
We can see if we can get those. We just got those signs in last week, so we'll see if we can add those to them.
Thank you.
Sure.
And I will say, I do think there's a great improvement of the pedestrian walkways down there, and I have been encouraging better protection of our pedestrians. It still does concern me if you're pulling out of this parking lot and it's dark, you've got people traveling by the water department. You've also got people trying to cross to the bone of alleys, or the alley bun, what's it called? Yeah, that is. But so you've got people going multiple different directions, you're in a car,
So I think what we're trying to do is implement a change and gauge the results, make sure it's better, not worse, and then implement the next change and see if it's better. So last week, we closed Second Avenue in one direction and routed the traffic around the peanut.
And that was a great move.
And that definitely has helped. We tried before them putting the lanterns in the middle of the road, that didn't help at all. They just ran them over.
It was a great
I don't
effort.
think we have any of those lanterns left. So that's what we tried, it didn't work, we tried something else, and it's worked much better. We actually are blocking off this parking lot, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sundays, for event staff and handicap parking only. And that has helped tremendously too. It frees a lot of people circulating, trying to find a parking place through that parking lot, and then becoming a conflict point on the Second Avenue.
Right.
Hopefully, some of this works on Main Street. We're also going to close parking on one half of Fifth Avenue to make sure there's room for 2 cars to pass. We're going to close Sixth Avenue between Main Street and Laurel Street so that it's local traffic only. You can't use that as a cut through. Also for 7th. What we saw on Saturday night, a little bit on Friday, but worse on Saturday, was vehicles turning off of Main Street and parking on 6th on both sides of the street. Then turning off of 7th and parking on both sides of the street. And then there wasn't room for 1 car to get through safely, let alone 2 to pass. That would back the vehicles up onto the side streets, and that created gridlock. That's the same thing we saw at 3rd and 4th and Laurel and 3rd and 4th.
And-
It's gridlock because cars will make the turn and not be able to make the intersection and block another lane of traffic.
Then you
So
gotta back up.
we could have 75 officers downtown at every intersection and still not have enough people in the right spots because they're gonna just shift the problem from one to the next. So try these implementations of improvements and then we'll go to the next one. If we can find lights for the signs, that's an easy one. Yeah.
Do we have anything that designates the county parking lot for overflow? Like, there are a lot of people from out downtown that were out-of-towners. They didn't know where to park. Is there any way we can let them know to park on our end? I know it was full most of the time, but
We don't generally advertise the county as the county lots as an acceptable place to park because, number one, it's not our parking lot to do that with, and I believe it is a public parking lot just because it is like publicly owned parking lot, but we don't want to push people there. What we are doing instead to add additional parking is we're going to move some things around on Marina Drive. We have Marina Drive closed right now for the celebration of lights. We're going to maneuver some things around, add some parking on Marina Drive. Probably a couple hundred cars could fit there if we do it right, and then create some traffic flow issues off of Marina Drive to allow traffic going one way out of town to get people out, but not let them come in. We got a system we're working out, but that'll add a whole lot of parking right there, and it'll actually encourage people to go into the county parking lot too.
okay.
Mr. White?
And could we not have a or have we not had a conversation with the county about using the lots for parking?
I think that they would say yes, but they probably would do it quietly, so we have not, I think we just use the parking lots. I think everybody uses the parking lots.
I don't think it's restricted at all.
No, I don't think so either, but I also don't want them too restricted, so. Next year, I think we're probably gonna have to look at trolleying people in from off-site, which is exciting, but also another thing to be able to, logistical hurdle.
Just had a good conversation.
Yeah, he did.
I did not say.
I'll let William shuttle. Yeah, we'll shuttle them around the golf carts.
And do we not see have golf course that we can use for that purpose?
We have one 6-seater golf cart, we have a couple, like all-terrain vehicles for more work level thing. We would have to make sure our insurance allows us to do that with our golf carts to become a passenger service. I don't know that it will. It'd be easier if another like nonprofit did that sort of thing. We have to partner with them and run that. Yeah.
They were parking at the library, the museum, and walking up here.
Yeah.
But Ms. Helms triggered my memory on something about people being out of town. I did run into a guy, and he said there had been a lizard man sighting in Conway. And if you've lived here any length of time, you know what I'm talking about. Has there been a lizard man sighting?
I've not heard of one, but it'd be great if there was. We could run with that. I mean, yes, we've heard of Lily Man. He's followed several places downtown.
He was here in search of the lizard man, but,
It's on
Lizard
95.
Man doesn't come out till about 9:30 p.m.
That's one on 90.
90? That's where he lives.
it's up there, well,
He
you
has
know what I'm
a-
talking about,
Yeah.
up there in Bishopville, Lee County.
Oh, yeah. I met him.
I used to have a T-shirt that said, "I ain't scared no lizard man." And, now this is back in the 80s. Yeah.
If anyone would like to volunteer on a side project, just let me know after the meeting. Might be lizard man related.
Anybody else?
Brandon? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mayor, council, y'all doing well?
Good, thanks.
We've completed several city projects here recently. We've paved a parking area at Smith Jones Pool, paved the dog park parking lot, splash pad, Town Green Phase 3, Holiday Alley, Recreation Center parking lots. And I'd like to thank other departments, Robert, Timmy, Rock. I hope I didn't leave anybody out because we couldn't do, it's a group effort. Bradley, as you can see, his landscaping is beautiful. It's amazing. So I'd like to thank them too, personally. We're going to be starting the road reconstruction of University Plaza here in a few weeks. We've performed 525 inspections on stormwater and erosion control, performed 109 plan reviews. We've installed 2,170 feet of storm pipe. The McKeithen Outfall Score Grant Project is underway. They've been clearing the land and should start constructions early to mid-November, so it'll start taking shape November timeframe. The Pine and Beatty Street outfall grants that we received, all the camera and pipe washing's been done. They should be installing pipe and upgrading what's in the dirt now here the next couple of weeks as well. So that'll add to some of our congestion as well, I'd imagine, but it's a good thing. We were very fortunate here recently. There was some leftover skip funds, and they reached back out to the city and asked if we had any more projects. So we kind of sent them our 5-year capital improvement list, and we're able to get that bid out. And just some of those projects, the larger ones, it's the Parkview redesign, the stormwater upgrades, stormwater improvements in Rosehaven, stormwater upgrades at Boundary and 701, so fingers crossed it won't flood anymore. Ditch maintenance at the canal on 16th Avenue, stormwater improvements at Bluebell Lane and Wood Creek, and stormwater improvements at Graham and Long Road. There's some other smaller projects throughout the city that's all throughout outskirts, downtown, everything. We were also fortunate and received another stormwater grant from the Rural Infrastructure Authority for Laurel Street between 3rd and 4th Avenue. So there'll be some improvements going on there, first of the year time frame. We're waiting on DOT permits and that type of thing right now. But that concludes my report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So Brandon, you had quite a list. How long did it take you to do those? I don't think you ever said in what period of time you did all of what you did.
The projects, about since January, February, until...
Because I'm sitting here thinking, surely he didn't do all that in a month.
Not a month,
Okay.
not a month. That's over a span of about 6 to 8 months.
Okay, all right, thank you so much. Mr. White?
I forgot the name of the street now, where the father's place is it Norton Street?
Yes, yes, sir.
Can we do something with that street? Is that not our street, cities? It needs to be widened, and also, just look at that street, please.
We can take a look at it.
Thank you.
We've not bid out the resurfacing list, so it may be something we can just add to that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else?
Thank y'all.
We thank you. Thank you so much. Ms. Helms, I may be mistaken, but I do believe for council input that we start with you.
Well,
You okay with that?
yeah.
'Cause I may be wrong.
I did go to a birthday party Saturday, and we rode the pedal pump, which was a really cool thing. I think, he said his business hadn't been as good as he had wanted. I don't know if it's traffic flow or maybe not being able to have alcohol, but I said I would bring it up at council input. But it was fun. It was a short little trip, but it was actually a good time. Again, I appreciate all the visitors. I was downtown myself Saturday, and I should have charged, but I drove a lot of people from downtown to the marina to the scary part of Adams Fun Show that I don't like the clowns, but I did it because it was the right thing to do. But I did meet a lot of people from Mount Pleasant, Wilmington. A lady said she brought her daughter here because she said that she was scared to death of Halloween and the bone skeletons. That really helped a lot, and her little girl loved Halloween now, so that's a positive. But I do appreciate all the hard work that all our staff puts in. I know that traffic is a bear right now, especially with the haunted walk that I think that went real well, but maybe we can move those officers around. But the volunteers that we have for Halloween, I hope show up for Christmas, because I want every holiday to just feed off the other one. So thanks for all the hard work for the city. That's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Butler?
Thank you. I just have a couple of things tonight. I just want to make sure that, everything downtown looks absolutely amazing. The Riverwalk is great. I just want to make sure that it's accessible to all of our citizens, even our citizens with disabilities. So are we following the ADA guidelines when to make sure that everything is accessible and things for individuals who may use motorized vehicles?
Yes, we are, and we're upgrading those areas that we found deficiencies. Last year, we redid the sidewalks on Laurel Street that were found to be a little too narrow.
Okay.
So I think we spent about $250,000 to widen them, to make them accessible. On both sides of the street were not accessible, one was not, so we
Okay.
spent that money to do that. In addition, the Tunnel of Bones, Holiday Alley, last year was a mulch pathway. We added the pavement to make it accessible. And as we continue these improvements everywhere, we always try to add accessibility where we can.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that includes the Riverwalk?
Yeah, the Riverwalk there is a stairway in the middle. There is no way to get over the railroad trestle without a stairway. There was not a way to make it ADA accessible in the middle. It meets code because both ends are accessible. The middle part, it doesn't have to be there to be accessible. It's not ideal, we agree. It was the only way to make it, to be able to connect from one side to the other. When we own the railroad tracks, there might be a way to go back in and retrofit it to make it better, but we do not own the railroad tracks yet.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Sure.
And last, I was at Smith Jones on Saturday, and there was a little concern where Smith Jones Park is, which I know is not a city park, but I think at one point there were cameras there that are no longer there. And I wanted to ask about cameras that would possibly be over at the Smith Jones Park side, if that's something that we could do, something that we can negotiate, something, just so that, the city side is right there, Smith Jones Park is right there, just making sure that people are safe when they're in that area, and that we have cameras that are able to kind of monitor what's going on.
We do have cameras on the city portion, the city side of it, and I think they face multiple directions. Putting our cameras on private property, though, is a tricky thing, but we can use them on private pole, or public poles in the area where we can, and make sure that we've got coverage. I know we did have some cameras internal to the park, and that was something we can't do any longer, but we can try to have some on the periphery for those areas that are dead that we can pick up.
Okay, so if we could do that, that'd be awesome.
Sure thing.
That's all from me tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Brewer. Mr. White. I saw that pedal pub, is that what it's called? This afternoon as I was coming in. Could we use that for the Christmas parade?
It's work.
It's got a motor, but when it's full, the motor isn't strong enough to navigate it, so you have to pedal.
Scratch that, please. That's all.
Mr. Goldfinch.
That's all?
That's all.
Keep up the great work. I'm reminded of, I'm one of these people that plays it safe most of the time, and that's just how I was raised, and it's really uncomfortable for me to step outside of my comfort zone, but I recognize that we grow outside of our comfort zone, and staff over the last few years has certainly pushed us out, right, wrong, indifferent, has certainly pushed us outside of our comfort zone, and we've seen tremendous successes with that, and we're learning and growing through those successes. And I'm reminded by, the budget retreat this past year, the challenges that the community there faced for a period of time where there was this motivation to do something new, to grow. And I know that to be true. You gave us a book a few months back, and I've read it twice now, Performative Outrage. Highly recommend it. Easy to read. You can sit down and read it in an hour and a half. But anyway, so thank you, staff. Thank you, colleagues. I think we've got the best colleagues in the world. I was talking to someone over the weekend, and they said, there just doesn't seem to be much drama out of council. And I said, well, that's because we all get along. Well, we don't always agree, nor should we. But we work so well together, and staff, you're a big part of that. So I appreciate y'all, and all of you pushing me outside of my comfort zone. I'm certainly, I think, hopefully a better person because of it. So thank you for what you do, and that's all I got tonight.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Jordan?
Thank you. It's been touched on, obviously, a number of times tonight already, but Saturday night, Saturday afternoon, Saturday all day, let's just put it that way, was absolutely insane downtown. It's mind-boggling to see, and I've heard from a number of business owners, restaurant owners, your, as my kids call, your sweet treat spots, that are setting record numbers right now. And, for them to be able to generate revenue right now to get them through the drier months of first part of the year is a great thing to see. So, is it inconvenient at times? I got stuck in that traffic Saturday. I get it. Hour round trip to drop my daughter off from my house to back. But, knowing that they're generating revenue right now, so that they're not dipping into their personal pockets come January to make payroll, means a lot for them right now. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Ms. Hardwick?
Thank you so much. Again, I have spent many hours just sitting on like a table at one location or a chair at one location and just meeting people and talking to people and watching. And, I think one of the things that I'm so proud of this city for is everybody's coming by with smiles on their face. They're enjoying themselves. They're from literally all over the country. Talked with a lady and she goes, we heard about Halloween, South Carolina on the TV station in Cleveland. And so they decided not to go to Salem, they decided to come to Conway, or City of Halloween. Tremendous people. I also hope that council, and staff, we will look at Anto's, our pizzeria, who just won the world title in Italy, that maybe we can get him here to congratulate him on his world title of his pizza. That is pretty amazing. Chef Darren, our South Carolina ambassador, Chef Darren Smith, also helped him in that process. So, it's so great to see the friendly competition among restaurants, but also the competition, the partners working together to make each other better. Also, Theater of the Republic starts their Wizard of Oz this weekend, and the performing festival, the Children's Festival, was very well attended also. This was sent to me right before meeting, and I just want to take a moment to read this. Somebody snapped this off the very Facebook, sorry. But this was the comment. Pay attention to the leadership in Conway, true civic leaders from the mayor to the council, bettering their community without concern of lining their pockets. And I think that is such a noble statement. Early voting started today, so make sure you get out and vote. Thank you, everyone, for a great month.
Thank you, Ms. Hardwick. I don't, maybe I do mention it as a brag, but I spent the last week in Salt Lake City. And one of the things that I did was tour a tiny housing project. There exists in Salt Lake City a group that has worked for now decades to do better by the unsheltered. Starts with transitional shelter that includes services, mental health services, some medical services, more training on how to get a job, how to keep a job, how to manage money, how to sort of get started all over again with the way we live. There is some movement around us that is going to include us at some point, looking at a local shelter. And I want us to start preparing for what happens beyond the shelter. The reality is that housing costs and rental costs are not going to decrease. They're going to continue to skyrocket. In this particular setting, a 350 square foot home is built to occupy up to 2 adults. Most fascinating thing I've ever seen. They're built in a community, so all the fronts of the houses are facing a center. There's green space. There's a tiny porch with 1 chair on the porch for the purpose of having people sit out, and if somebody should throw away a piece of paper, the other neighbors are going to say, that's not the way we live here. There is opportunity for employment close by. There's a clinic where, sort of a one-stop shop where various professionals come in to meet the needs of the people who are there. It is, they're light years ahead of us, but at the same time, I really want us to start thinking about how we're going to get to that place that Larry White has been trying to take us for decades. I'm not stealing your thunder. I'm climbing on your train.
Thank you.
I just think that, just in terms of planning, we need to look forward to where in our area are we going to be the least restricted by NIMBYs and caves and those fashions that would have difficulty accepting this kind of thing near their home. It's really going to be, we need to start planning. We need to look ahead. Also, while I was there, I mentioned I wore my Halloween earrings wherever I went, and every chance I got, I'd walk up to a stranger and say, well, do you like Halloween? And that started the conversation. This one young woman said, I was at this conference last year, and a woman said something about Halloween, and I forget what state. I said, that was me, and it's Halloween, South Carolina, write it down. So I gave her a card, but I'm hoping that even more people will get here by the end of the month, Adam, and a lot of promises for next year. I'd just like to echo what everybody said about how enormous this transition to Halloween South Carolina has been for our community. And I'm going to read just 2 testimonials that I just think are worthwhile. I think they say all. This one begins with giving me too much credit, and I'll skip that part. But it says that we have transformed and grown Conway, lifting an entire community. With family in town from Kansas City, I thought last night, meaning Sunday night, would be a quieter time to walk around Halloween City, but it was full of families. Our uncle said it was better than the Kansas City Plaza at Christmas. While others are bickering about what to do in their cities, we are getting it done. And most of you have seen this letter to, this was not an editorial. Yes, it was. This was a letter to the editor, Ori Independent. Loris Mann enjoys visiting the city of Halloween. I read with amusement and sadness the letter to the editor from a person I will not name, who has lived in Conway with her family for over 30 years. I do not live in Conway, but I do not disagree one bit with her on how beautiful, charming, and friendly the city is. I love going there all the time to eat, walk around, and shop. The Riverwalk is such a peaceful and relaxing area. I've always respected everyone's opinion and viewpoint on issues, on what one may think or want to say. That is what people and neighbors should do. For about 6 weeks out of the year, the city is dressed up for Halloween. So many, many people, not only from Conway itself, but from all over the state and surrounding areas, can have some joy for a moment in time. Friends and neighbors might see someone who they haven't seen in a while walking downtown, looking at Halloween setups. It seems Halloween is being celebrated with decorations and lights even more than Christmas lately. Why not just take a step back and enjoy the sights, sounds, and the people? With all the hate, violence, and crime in the news of late, it does make me feel happy to see families with children, grown-ups holding hands, and just people in general admiring everything and enjoying themselves. Sometimes a city or other venues need to spend money to bring in additional revenue into a community with visitors eating at various restaurants, patronizing drinking establishments, shopping at all the stores available in Conway. I believe the city government leaders thought long and hard on planning and getting this project to where it is today. I am sure all the other people who come to Conway to see Halloween City are glad that they did. Thanks to everyone who helps plan this event each year, setting up everything. And I do hope that they get to see the joy and happiness they brought to everyone during this time of the year. Thank you, Conway. Those are my words. That is all I have for this evening, and we will now go into executive session for the purposes of a discussion on a contractual matter incident to retirees' health insurance pursuant to South Carolina Code Section 3470A2, a discussion of an economic development opportunity named Project Smokestacks pursuant to South Carolina Code Section 3470A5, and C, to review a contractual terms with AT&T for lease of space on the Gardner-Lacey Water Tower pursuant to South Carolina Code Section 3470A2. We will reconvene from executive session if any decisions are to be made, and adjourn after that time. We will entertain a motion to go into executive session. Mr. Goldfinch.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Ms. Helms? We have a properly seconded motion to go into executive session. All in favor, show your hand. And the motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much for being here.